Hey, math friends. So our learning target today is that I can calculate percents using proportion. So we're just coming out of the proportion unit. So when we take cross products, we're going to be doing that today, but we're going to be doing it in terms of the percentage of something. So by definition, a percent is a ratio whose denominator is 100. So everything for percent is measured by its relationship out of 100. So, for example, if somebody were to say that you only got 4% wrong on a test, we'll talk about wrong because nobody would want to get 4% right. So, that means you really got 4 out of 100 questions. Or if this is your free throw percentage, that means you made 4 free throws out of 100. In decimal form, we just say that that is 4 hundredths. 4 in the hundredths place, 4 hundredths. So that's the percent, the fraction, and the decimal that is all comparison. But the relationship is really that it's out of 100. Likewise, if you got 25%, that means you got 25 out of 100. So if you were to shoot 100, you would make 25. There were 100 questions on the test, you made 25. That's 25 hundredths then, for our example. So the best scenario really is when we talk about test scores, because that's something that you're all very familiar with. So if we take this math test score and you got 17 out of 29, you can see that this test is not measured out of 100. In order to calculate the percent, we want to know, well, then how much would that be out of 100? So really what trying to do is we're trying to get the relationship in proportion out of 100. So we're trying to figure out what value would we get out of 100. How is that equivalent to 17/29ths? Now, if we look at our denominators here, there's not an easy way to make that transition. 29 is a prime number and really not gonna, I guess it's less about it being a prime number, but it doesn't have a nice factor that we can get into 100. So then the way to get out of that is we would take cross products. So we would multiply 29 times x. We're trying to find the value of x there. 17 out of 100, or 1700 rather. As we solve then, we're going to isolate the variable x. We're going to use division as the operation. And so we'd find out that the part that you scored on that test, so we would take 1700 divide by 29, again, pause the video at any time, is I'm going to round to the nearest whole here. 58.6 is what shows up, so I'm going to call that 59%. And 59% means that really that's a huge bummer that I failed the math test. I should have given a better example for math class, a duh. So that is exactly how your percentages are broken. That's how we break them down as teachers. We need to convert them to how much out of 100. Sometimes that's easy to see, and sometimes we have to do like a cross product on it to get the value. There are other ways to do that, but the learning target today is that you can do a proportion. So your parents might be saying, wait, you could just divide and multiply by 100, which is true. It's just that we just have a different learning target today, a different way to approach it for today's learning. But we will cover those other methods later. So next one, in science class, you get a 58 out of 64 on your test. So what does that mean? Well, how much would that be out of 100? Again, not a nice multiplication happening there. So we're going to take cross products. So we get 64x equals 5800. We divide both sides by 64, copy, paste, and we end up getting that the part that was scored on the test then, if we were to convert to out of 100, we would find out that it's 90.6. So I'm going to round that to 91. I'm a little bit out of space down there. So 91% was scored on the test because it was 90.6. So I rounded. And that would score me in the A category. 91% scores an A on the science test. So great job on your science test. Woo! All right, so that's the introduction of percents. Basically, we're trying to get that denominator out of 100. All right, moving on to the next question then. For the next question, we're talking about this idea of when we're identifying the part and identifying the whole. When we don't have a real world example given, we're just given that we know that we have 50% of something or we have 70% of something. So the setup there is very much the same. It's just being able to recognize the information. So the whole is always the of part. I shouldn't use the word part. The whole is the of. How much is it out of? What is it out of? So it says that it's out of 30. Okay. Having a hard time with my pen here. I'm going to pause the video quick and see if I can switch pen. All right, so the of is out of 30. And we say we're taking 50%. 50%. I'm going to pause the video again. So the of is out of 30. And it says that we're taking 50%. So 50%. So some of you might obviously be able to say, well, if it's out of 30 and I'm taking 15%, 50%, it has to be 15 because 15 is 50% of 30. But if you didn't recognize that, you could take cross products and get to the idea that indeed it is going to be 15. Now I'm going to skip the cross products on that because some kids might be able to easily see that 50% of 30 is 15. So let's take a look at a different question. So what about this question over here? Of 44. That's the of, the total. What percent is unknown this time? What percent? We don't know the percent. So what we're missing is the percent this time. We know that it's 40 out of 44. 40 out of 44 is what percent? So now on this one, I'm going to take cross products because I want to know what value would that be out of 100. So I have 44x. I'm going to write down here just because of space. And I have 4,000. So we're going to divide both sides by 44. Copy, paste, copy, paste. And what percent do I get? So I have 4,000 divided by 44. And I end up getting 90.9%, which really is like 91%. So that's another example of how we would get there without a real life situation. But if that were a test score, 40 out of 44 would be a 91% again. So I'm going to skip the other two and we're going to move on to another real world problem. So we see that down here that John made 14 free throws. So this is pretty interesting for those of you that do play sports and that are interested in maybe your free throw shooting percentage or your on base percentage in baseball, things like that. All right, so let's take a look. John made 14 out of, you see there's that word there, 14 out of 22 free throws. Now my pen's working, yay. What percent did John make? So we really want to be able to get this out of 100. So we're going to take cross products and solve. So we're left with 22x is equal to 1,400. We're going to divide both sides by 22. Copy, paste, copy, paste. So we get x is equal to, so I'm going to take 1,400, divide by 22, and we end up getting 63%. 63% is his free throw shooting percentage, which is probably a pretty good percent for a middle school student to be shooting 63%. Ideally, we would all want to be shooting in the 90s, right? Nobody shoots 100%, but in the 90s. But that's probably pretty good for middle school basketball. All right, so there's another example of how we calculate percent. So let's go to the next screen. We have a social studies test here. Social studies test is 78 out of 100. Our job is to get it out of 100. When we want to know the percentage, we want to know how much out of 100. So this one, easy peasy lemon squeezy, it's just 78%. There isn't any calculation. This was our goal. So you can see that that would be a letter grade C. Cool. Next one, ILA test. Why don't you pause the video and try this one? Figure out the percentage and the grades for this scenario. All right, you should be unpausing the video. You can see that the test is not out of 48, or is not out of 100, which would have been easier, right? So some teachers like to do that, where they make a test out of a nice denominator to convert to 100 easier. but that's okay. We can get there. So we're going to multiply by some value to get to 100, but we don't see any nice pattern there, a nice factor. So I'm going to take cross products. So 48x is equal to 3,400. Again, there is a faster way to do this, but this is our learning target today, that you can take cross products for percentages. We'll get to the other way eventually. We go 3,400 divide by 48. So we go 3,400 divide by 48 gives me 70.8%, which means it's really 71%. If we look at the grading scale, there is another C grade. All right, group, that's how you would calculate your percent to figure out your grade. So that's good news. All right, let's take a look at example 4. For example 4, I'm going to solve it down here. Amy's shooting percentage was 75%. 75%. That's what we know about Amy's shooting percent. So that means for every 100 shots she takes, Amy made 75. It says if she makes 15, how many did she shoot? If she makes 15, how many did she shoot? So our unknown value is how many did she shoot? We know she didn't go 15 for 15 because that would equate to 100%, and she didn't get 100%. She got 75%. So we just have to figure out how many shots did she take. We know how many she made. That's easy to keep track of in a scorebook, right? But how many did she shoot? So if we take cross products and solve, we would go 75x is equal to 1,500. We divide both sides by 75, copy, paste, copy, paste. We're looking for how many shots did Amy take. So when we take cross products and solve here, we have 1,500 divided by 75 means that Amy shot the basketball 20 times. She made 15, so she has a 75% make shooting percentage. So that's how many she shot. That's how we would do cross products to find the unknown value. I'd like you to try example 5. Now I need to erase all this so I have somewhere to write. Pause video at any time. You are trying the test score, the next test score. Make sure you read it carefully. Go. Do it, do it, do it. You can do this. Boom. All right, you should be unpausing the video. Let's see how you did. So the science test was worth 50 points. That means that of the 50 points, boom. Larissa scored 90%, which means Larissa got 90 out of 100. So how many did she get correct if it's worth 50 points? Now this one I'm not going to take cross products on. I'm going to take a little shortcut. I can see that this is a relationship of 2 here. So that's a relationship of 2. So I can mental math that and realize that I get 45. So Larissa got 45 out of 45 out of 50 on our science test to get an A- on the test. Sweet. Hopefully you did well on that one. Let's take a look at this question. We're at 13 minutes. We're going to try a couple more. This is a super important skill. Nathan, I'm going to solve them all down here and then just erase so I have more space. Nathan attempted 40 free throws. There's my of 40 free throws. He made 30. So Nathan made 30 out of 40. What percent of free throws did Nathan make? We're looking at a percentage here. What percent? Percent was not given. So we're going to take cross products and solve. So we're going to take cross products. We get 40x equals, boom, 3,000. You can do this. Division is the next step, as you've been doing a gazillion times. Hopefully you nailed this now. So we get x is equal to, you should say that it's 75%. So this one is 75% of the free throws is what Nathan made. He made 30 out of 40. So his free throw shooting percentage is 75%. So at the end of a basketball game, you're always looking for your best free throw shooter, right? That's the one you want fouled so that they go to the line. So this is good information to know. The end of basketball games really have a lot to do with who can make a free throw. All right, Landon's shooting percentage. So this is another basketball scenario. It's 60%. If she made 15, how many did she shoot? So let's take a look at the 60%. 60% means 60 out of 100. That's the stats that we have for Landon. If she made 15, she made 15. Awesome. Did she make all of them? No, because that would be 100%. She only made 60%. So how many did she shoot? Cross products and solve. Go, 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 go. I don't have a lot of room for my steps there, so I'm not going to show my steps this time. Kind of wrote too big there. So how many did she shoot? Cross products. You should be solving. I'm just out of space there. You should come up with that she shot 25 shots. She shot 25. So she went 15 out of 25 to give her that 60%. Awesome. Next question. I'd like you to try the question on Matthew. I'm going to erase all this again because I don't have space. Pause video, rewind if you need to. Try the next problem with Matthew through 75 pitches. All right, unpause video. Matthew threw 75 pitches. So there's my of the 75. Of the 75, 72%. Here's my definition of percent. Boom, not hard right there. That happens every single time. It's out of 100 when you see that percent symbol. How many strikes? So are we assuming that every time a pitcher throws the ball that they don't always throw a strike? Correct. So taking cross products then, to solve, again, I'm not going to show my work here, guys, because I am simply out of space and this pen is not easy to write with on the computer. So go ahead and type that in. We're looking for how many strikes do we have here. And when I solve, I find out that Matthew threw 54 strikes. Pause video and make sure that you've tried that and that you come up with 54 strikes. Cool. All right, I think we're good on the test examples, and we're going to do this last problem here. This will be closure here. Ainsley made 23 out of 28 free throws. Here's my of here. How many out of 28? So we're looking for the percent this time. We don't know the percent, so we have to find it. Take cross products and solve. Again, I'm skipping my work on that step. We come up with 82% when I round. So that means that Ainsley is an 82% free throw shooter. I hope that you've tried that. You should try that. Just because I keep talking doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing the work and that you shouldn't be pausing the video. As soon as the question comes up, you should pause the video, try to solve it, then see if you're right, and just be checking. Okay, so for summary today, everything we did today is based on percentage. Sometimes the percent was given and sometimes it wasn't, and you're taking cross products. Remember, this is the part and this is the whole. This is the idea of how many out of something. Now, sometimes the percent is given. If it's 58%, then we have the 58%. But sometimes it says what percent. So there's a little bit different scenarios that happen to us. All right, that's it for math today. I can calculate percent using proportions. We do know that there's a faster way to get percents, but this is our learning target for today. Have a glorious night.